All right, welcome to the Choose on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Becky Plautz. We are in the strategy hour and time in the Work on Purpose with Purpose community today, which means we get to have a group conversation around our month theme, which is soulful success. And I have a framework that we're going to go through for intentional living and leading our lives, and it's with SOULFUL as our acronym. And before I dive in a little bit about that, I want to just give an opportunity for you to hear who may be chiming into the conversation today and have them introduce themselves. So, Tara, I see that you're unmuted right away. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Tara Parks, and I'm from Wausau.
Awesome. Thanks for jumping in, Tara. Happy to see you.
Thank
And
you to be here.
Brenda, go ahead.
Brenda Wolf from Green Bay.
Woohoo! Wisconsin's in the house. I love it. And Beth, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I am Beth, and I am from Muskego, Wisconsin, and I love to nourish people with sourdough bread. So I'm making some sourdough this morning while we're talking.
I love it. Talk about soulful. That's soul food right there.
Amen.
Love it. Thank you. Excited to have some conversation rolling. So this is all around aligning our work and our lives with deeper meaning and purpose and intention. And we're not just focusing on the external success when we're talking about soulful success, but tapping into our inner selves to create a balanced, more harmonious, fulfilling journey that we're on here. So today's the interactive podcast recording and using the acronym of SOULFUL. Right. This is a powerful framework to use that can really guide the discussion and have some reflection opportunities. And we're going to just, how about I go through and I'll say the S for soulful, the first S, or there's only one S, the S for soulful. I was thinking about success. So there's the whole thing, but we're only going to do an acronym of soulful. So the S is self-awareness. And this is the foundation of soulful success. It's kind of a mouthful when you say it multiple times. Soulful success starts with that knowing ourselves deeply, right? And understanding our own values and the strengths that we have and where our heart leads us to. So, opportunity for reflection is how connected do you feel to your core values right now, right? And what recent experiences have maybe helped you better understand yourself? So I want to just kind of open that up. Does anyone want to share?
Well, I know for me, I just got back from a 2-week vacation, and the self-awareness of just being present in the moment um, was extremely high. We did a lot of different activities and very intentionally spent time doing things that were meaningful to me and my partner. And everything was very intentional. So that self-awareness for me is very high.
Yeah, I love that. Vacation's a good opportunity for that. I feel like that's a great opportunity to reflect, and especially when you're with other people and your partner, to be able to deeper dive in conversations and have that space that really gets you outside of the normal day-to-day things to give you the opportunity to have that self-reflection and that awareness come a little bit sharper maybe, or an opportunity to dive in just with some more vulnerability even. So love that. Thanks for sharing that, Tara.
Well, I feel like it's a connection that I've had just traveling um, to share in mentorship with the kids in Michigan and um, more awareness on myself of what I like and dislike within the business and the business model and how taxing travel can actually be on your body if you're not taking care of it and giving it that self-nourishment that it needs. And give a lot of credit to a lot of people that do it on a regular basis with a very rigid traveling demand in their jobs.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, when we're away from our regular environments also, right? It was like, oh, it's great to be away from your regular environment. And that's, you know, the catch of it is that then we're away from our routines that are ingrained in the way that we start our days at home and the nourishing things that we have for our body. Like if you're someone that really uses whole ingredients and, you know, makes fresh food. And then when you're on the go, it's like, what options, you know, being really intentional about that, that can definitely be more of an overwhelm if it's unprepared or, yeah, I can just picture, you know, if it's consistently like truckers, you know, people that are on the road consistently, how they have to just grab and go. And that nourishment, you know, takes a back seat. So yeah, that's a huge piece of self-awareness too. When we're filling our bodies with the things that don't serve us, then it kind of stops that opportunity for reflection a little bit too. So yeah, that's great. Beth, did you want to share?
Yeah, I'll share. Well, first of all, traveling, because I did just travel. So both of those are uh, what stirred up in me from both what Tara and Brenda said is just really having to plan because I do like it can take me out really quick. My body is very sensitive to what I put in it. And it can take me out very quick by traveling and not being prepared. So when I travel, I do have to, like, even when we go to Florida every year, is like really having our, you know, shopping list for down there dialed in. What can I take from home? Making sure that I have my vitamins so that I can stay on that routine. So it definitely is like for me when I hear those stories is like for me is definitely preparing for that travel. Like I definitely have to look ahead and have a good plan in place so that I can come back, you know, maybe just a little under level because you're still traveling, but not like I remember you like years ago, like coming back just so depleted, like, oh crap, starting from ground zero, you know, and working my way forward. So that definitely resonates with me and how I now it's like, okay, I'm going away next Thursday. What do I need to do? What do I need to take? I even bought my morning time is so like in routine that and my coffee with my morning routine that I bought a coffee pot the last time I was out of town. Sorry. Um, bought my own coffee pot for the hotel room because I was like, I need my morning, you know, just to go to the bathroom and all that good stuff. Like it has to be just so.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I was also just thinking too, like just what was the main, can you repeat the first question or the question? And then I have my answer, but I just want to.
Connected to feeling like you're connected to your core values.
Yeah. So my core values are definitely freedom, family, and faith. And I really have just been over the past year really trying to, you know, do the best I can to really start with that in my day. And like as I'm building my business, just really making sure that I'm living, leading, and loving women to freedom because that is really what just what at the core what nourishes me and what where my soul feels successful is when I'm connecting with myself and just leading in that. So and it also I'm kind of building my own little homestead, so that is very soulful for me and I'm just starting to get out there and sharing some of those things, but I really love that as well. And kind of leading people to freedom. Like, let's grow our own food. Let's do our own thing. Let's disconnect from all those systems that seem to not be working as well anymore.
Yes. Stay tapped into that self-awareness. I love it. Love that. Thank you for sharing, Beth. Okay, so the O is ownership, and taking ownership of our life is really what we're talking about here, right? Like of our life, our decisions, our actions, or our inactions, right? Taking the ownership for what we choose. And this is about fully claiming our journey without external validation or fear of judgment in the way that we do it. But the area of my life, that I feel this is my health right now. Like taking ownership of the way that I feel in my own body is definitely where I'm seeing reflection for ownership, and how at a soul level it's like, I know these things to be true and I feel them. And so the question would be, where can you empower yourself to take control of your success? And for me, it's my health journey right now. So I would put that question to just say, where can you empower yourself and take more control for your success right now?
Well, for me, it's definitely in my professional career side of things. Um, the physical self part of it, ownership, is something that I have a strong desire to do, but the professional side is more of a necessity. Like I have to make some changes and some forward progress when it comes to financial stability and financial and just fiscal responsibility. So that's something that I need to take more ownership of currently.
Yeah, love that. Thank you for sharing that. So the you, if Beth, did you want to share? I see you came off.
No, go ahead and go ahead. And
Okay.
then maybe that
And
way.
if we have anything to wrap up with, we can definitely do that too. So the you is unconditional love and compassion. And this is where we're cultivating compassion for ourselves and for other people, right? Success isn't just about the outcomes. It's about how we treat ourselves along the journey of, moving forward, progressing, the things that we work with. And I think that the compassionate piece is really important. So unconditional love is, you know, showing myself kindness and giving myself grace, in the journey while I'm figuring it out. And the question for unconditional love in compassion is, how do you balance striving for success while practicing self-care and self-compassion? So if anyone wants to contribute to that question, I would love to hear, and I'll put it in here as well.
I would say what immediately stirs up for me around both the ownership and the self compassion and grace and all that has really, for me, just been building that relationship for me, with Jesus. And so there, from that place, I'm able to trust the unfolding, like trust that the good days are good and the bad days are not bad. They're just days too. Like to be able to live in a more trusting place. That has made all the difference for me in that self-compassion piece, in that compassion for others piece, like just really trusting where I'm at in this moment. Not good, not bad. It's just where I'm at. And that's life. That's the process. And I feel like I've always tried to resist the process. There's so many things that I just try to resist. And it's like,
Right.
as I have built that trusting relationship, I'm able to just be and be in whatever it is. So that has helped build compassion for myself and for others. Just hugely. Hugely? Is hugely a word? I don't know.
Today it is. Today it is. And evergreen, because this will be living forever. So it is. You don't have to look it up. I love it. Yeah, thank you so much, Beth. I think that's a great awareness too, is, our higher power and just trusting that and letting it unfold. I always love when you talk about that. Every time we do, I'm just like, yes, the reminder, great reminder for myself to just slow down and appreciate those messy moments as much as the, shiny, bright, and like, amazing moments. They're all what we give a meaning, and the L is lifelong learning, which I think, that's exactly what this is. It's about growth. It's about emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually growing and staying curious and open to learning new things. And right now, my learning is to unschool myself and my oldest child, who's only 11, and just the challenges that come along with it, where I catch myself like, oh, but whose rule is that? Is that a real thing? Do I need to keep that? Or, and I'm always learning what I can let go of. And it's so interesting being on that journey right now, that it's a lifelong process, I feel like, of deconditioning what I was told or supposed to do, and choosing for myself and going back to that awareness of who I am and what I know to be true for myself versus what other people have told me, is like my big lifelong learning moments right now. So my question is, how are you investing your personal or professional growth? How are you doing that right now? What are you investing in with your lifelong learning? And for me, it's time right now, investing in giving myself that space. So I'm curious for you ladies, how are you investing in your personal or professional growth right now?
Well, personally, just acknowledging that um, I learn different
Mm,
than what may have been the normal or the forced way when I was in school or years ago. And everybody else has their own way as well, and there's no wrong or right. And just taking the time to do the things that I get the information the most out of it in whatever way that is, looking for myself, not what everybody else thinks I should be doing, or um, what I think others think I should do it in, and keeping that in an open text for even when I share with other kids and other people.
yeah, I think that's a great point too. Like, you know, s- making sure that we do our best to not do that to other people, right? Putting other people in a box, or, um, you know, molding the minds of the next generation, and how delicately, giving ourselves grace in that too, because we're here figuring it out at the same time. And I think that that's a really great point, of making sure that that awareness is, how are we speaking and teaching the people around us by what we're doing, or what we're allowing, or what we're um considering a must do because we're supposed to. Yeah, thank you, Brenda. Lifelong learning.
Yeah, I would say, so for me, my lifelong learning and just looking back. So I'm doing a retreat where I'm going to be just sharing my God story. And what I have noticed is that my three children and my husband are my biggest teachers.
Mhm.
And I've noticed this for a long time, but just really as I've now gone back to look from a higher point than I was looking in 2017, coming from a victim mentality, like, life, and where now it's like, life. And so now, as I see my children and my husband, and just noticing those little things, um, uh, that are such miracles, I mean, just for an example, it was my birthday, and my daughter wrote me just the most special letter ever, and made me a card. And it was just like, oh my gosh, first of all, that's all I need for the rest of my life for my birthday ever, is that one card. And like, to notice like how I'm just becoming more myself and more myself in these years, and that they're noticing, but I'm learning off of them. Like my daughter said, "Oh, you just inspire me by the way you set goals." And I'm like, "What? Like you're the one inspiring me to do it to show you." You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh my gosh, like you're inspiring me. But just seeing that in my kids and my husband, like that is my life learning. Like I've taken all these classes, done all these things, and it's like I could have saved a whole heck of a lot of money by just using them as my teachers the whole time, which I was, but I guess I needed some extra help.
Yeah. I love that full circle kind of moments
Yeah.
of like, oh, you're helping me. No, I'm helping you. Like, oh, this is great. This is mutual, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, well, let's go to the F. Faith and flow, which, hello, faith, trusting in the process, right? We've already been talking about this a little bit with Beth about the trust and the unfolding, but really remaining connected to our higher source and that inspiration. And I like to say Gus, which is God, universe, source. So it's whatever you want to call it for you. And embracing that flow of life, knowing that challenges are a part of the journey. They're going to be there, and finding the faith moments to be in the flow of just like, let go of the resistance and ground in that faith, when things don't go as planned. I just completed a 12-hour walk a couple days ago. And, I was thinking this is going to be such a breeze because I go walking every day. I go hiking and I challenge my body. Okay. Yeah. 3 hours in, I was in pain. 6 hours in, I was in hell. Like, I was trudging through and like really challenged with the physical limits of my body only halfway through. And I was like, oh, okay, this is part of the journey. This is the challenge, is that my body was not prepared for the challenge itself. And I was grounding myself and just trusting that I was going to make it through it. And there was something to say about the commitment and just letting go and breathing through, like when I was like really in my head about the pain, and just flowing with like breath to say, okay, this is just physical pain leaving my body. I can breathe through this. And I did 12 hours, which felt like agony, but I could never tell myself I'm too tired to go for a walk again. I tell you what, I could never say that. So um that faith and flow for me was huge, and just grounding in my faith in those moments of like, oh, but I could just like take another 5-minute break, and I could, but the faith that I didn't really need to. My brain was telling me I was supposed to, and I knew that I could do more than I was initially thinking. So, when was the last time that you allowed yourself to go with the flow as a result of, and what was that result? That's the question. When was the last time you allowed yourself to go with the flow, and what was the result for that? Anything come to mind that you want to share? Allowed yourself to go with the flow.
Well, I'll go. I don't want to take up all the talking space. But first of all, I love that story, Becky, because I mean, that's just so good. I mean, that's what you needed in that moment, just like trusting in the process. Like you needed to feel that pain and to wake up the next day like, shit, I did that. Like I don't know. I think that's pretty darn awesome. Like that moment
Thank you.
just sounds hard and good, but that kind of takes me back to uh the mini triathlon, the sprint triathlon I did last year,
Yeah.
and just really like, the more faith I put into the experience, like the flowier it got. And it's just like I showed up for the run. Like it wasn't like, oh, I got to run today. Oh, I got to ride my bike. It was like I was drawn to show up to those moments. And that last week, so I was going to kayak. Remember, I was going to kayak. And then I was like, you girl, you ain't kayaking, you need to swim. And so the week before, I am in the lake every day practicing learning how to swim because
Yeah, context. You didn't know how to swim.
No. I strapped one of my boys's buoy ducks on my back, so I had something to grab onto in case I needed a lifesaver. And I just did it. I showed up every day and I was drawn to do it. It wasn't like, oh, I got to go do this. It was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then showing up that day to do the triathlon, it was 55 degrees that morning. I'm going swimming. The waves are like a foot and a half, 2 feet tall. Like I just swam in 90-degree weather and it was calm. I was on a channel. Yeah, there was no wind. So, I mean, just that experience takes me back to like just that faith and flow, and I just let it happen. I let go and I let God, and I took first place in my age class. So, I mean,
Woo.
yeah, it was.
And you learned how to swim.
And I kinda, I made it to the shore.
That is the learning, how to make it.
It wasn't pretty, but I made it.
I can relate to that with my story very much. Literally the last 10 minutes of my 12-hour walk, a woman I walked past came up behind me and was like, "Hey, pigtails, are you okay? You got a sad walk." And I was like, "Lady, I've been walking for 12 hours and I got 10 minutes left. I'm just getting through it." But I appreciate your sympathy and your concern, and you are so sweet. I'm finishing this. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, okay."
Oh yeah. That's awesome. So proud of you, Becky P.
Yeah, you too. You too. Thank you. Tara, how about you?
Going with the flow with me is more like is it, it is what happens when I just kind of let go, and it's more about the awareness of signs that I'm moving in the right direction. So it's like opening myself up to, okay, especially when I'm trying to make difficult decisions about life or about career moves or about, anything in general. It's like when I think about it and I'm trying to make a rational decision, meaning forcing the decision, one way or another, it gets very difficult. But when I open myself up to that awareness and like look for the signs of, okay, what is the direction that I'm supposed to go? What is it that, is I'm being led to? That's when I find the ease and the flow a lot better. But sometimes it is hard to remember to be intentional about that and to, because you've got other outside stressors in your life, right? I mean, you've got other responsibilities, you've got other things that you've been programmed to, learned behaviors that you're trying to get out of your head. Like you said, unschooling yourself in all of the things that we've been programmed to believe about what we should do or shouldn't do, and those words that we hate shutting on ourselves, right? But it's hard sometimes to remember to be intentional about opening up to that flow and being able to just accept and look for the signs of what's the right direction to go. So for me, it's just simply remembering to be intentional. And, when I was on my vacation, it was like never a question of whether or not we should do this or shouldn't do this. Do we have the money for that? It's like, you know what? When are we going to be here again? Let's just do this. Like, this is an opportunity. Let's just do it because it was the right thing to do. And that was a really amazing experience in being able to be intentional in that space and being able to just be open to, stopping to see a friend because you happen to be within 100 miles of them. And you're like, you know what? I live 800 miles away and I'm 100 miles closer. Let's just go there quick and do this. And so, I mean, that was kind of how the whole time frame went. So it was nice. It was really awesome to be able to experience that. And I hadn't had that in a long time. So I enjoy being in that moment and being in that flow moment.
Yeah, intentional flow. I love that.
Yeah.
Flowing with it. And that goes with it pairs really well with the you, which is understanding others. And one of the things that I wrote on there, is really that it's success isn't about those personal goals. I think I already said that, but it's about uplifting and connecting with those around you. So, right, you taking the opportunities to go and connect with those people that you're like, oh, I'm so close. Like, let me get closer. Let me go there and follow that through. It fosters those stronger relationships and empathy that comes along with that. And understanding others is the you for the second you. But with that, and this is more of just an introspection question. We don't need to say it out loud, but who can we reach out to today to support or uplift? So that we can bring that understanding to someone else, right? Think about that. Who can you reach out to today to give that support? And I was also going to share quickly, when you were talking about signs, I instantly was like, oh, one of my saving graces on my walk for the 12 hours this weekend was one of the trails. Like, so it wasn't like uphill or anything crazy. It was just trails. So some were like wood plank, um, walkways, somewhere wood chips, somewhere just gravel, somewhere dirt. It was a variation, but there was some gates at the end of some of these trails. And this gate, I pulled up the picture when you were talking about signs, because this was something that I held on to. It says the essence is to travel gracefully rather than to arrive. And I was like, so when I read that and my calves were so tight and my knees were so tight because I didn't stretch. Terrible, terrible. Like, it's just so stupid. It's just so ridiculous. Okay. So when I read that, when I saw that, stopped and took a picture of it because I was like, stretch your legs out. I'm not in a hurry to go anywhere. Like, stretch as I took every step, left foot, right foot. And I was like, travel gracefully, Becky. Like, focus on being graceful in the way that I'm stretching my feet and my toes as I was taking every step. Mind you, there was 68,000 steps that I took that day. So anyways, talking about the signs, Tara, I held on to that sign as I walked about.
No kidding. That's definitely a very literal sign.
Very literal sign that saved my mindset for 12 hours. Yeah. Okay, so the L is legacy. Think about the bigger picture, right? That we're impacting more than ourselves and more than our families, but beyond that, like what do we want people to remember about the work that we're doing or the presence that we bring in the places that we go, is really about the legacy that we're building. Like Beth talking about your daughter, now living her life like in awe of the way that you live your life. And you're just like, that's part of the legacy that we're exempling to the people around us. We have a greater vision in the intentions that we're bringing, and the things that we're choosing now are impacting and they're rippling out. So how can you align today's actions with the legacy that you want to leave is the question, right? The question to think about. How can you do that? And you don't have to share. You can if something's like on your heart to share right now, but the question is, how can you align today's actions with your legacy that you want to leave?
I think what just first comes to me is connecting with your soul. Like you have to get back to remembering who you came here to be, who God called you to be. And that is a journey. That is the unlearning, that is the healing, that is the leading, that is every bit of it is remembering your way back to that soul connection with God. We are made in the image of God, and that is where our connection is. And just living that, like, I mean, I think I've known for a long time, like my legacy is leaving the legacy of healing to my children. Is I'm going to do the work. I'm going to heal myself. I'm going to heal the wounds. I'm going to heal whatever I am called to heal so that those patterns do not get carried out to my children and their children and their children. Like generational healing is one very big piece of my legacy and what I came here to do.
Mm.
And that's
Definitely so
freedom.
good.
I think instead of remembering my way back, it's more about remembering my way forward. Because, we don't want to look back on, where we were or make comparisons to what we were in the past. It's always about looking forward. And my journey more recently has been, focused more on the forward movement and like what that's going to look like going forward. So, what are my actions today? What are the, going to align with that legacy in the future? But instead of looking at it from a backward standpoint, like, oh, I want to get back to where I was, or I want to go back to, a certain, mindset, it's in the past. So there is no going back. It's moving forward to something that you maybe want to be again, or, is similar, but we've learned things since then. So there's no way that we can get back to anything really, because we are different creatures than we were in the past. So, I think just being that intentional with your behavior and with your actions helps you to move forward so that you can make those changes and create the legacy that you want to leave, because you are creating it every day, whether it's intentional or not.
Right. So choose, right? That's the whole point, is then to choose.
Yes.
Because we are, time is going to keep going. We're going to keep going forward, while we're on earth here, we're progressing or we're not. And we get to choose. Are we winning? Are we losing? If you want to look at it that way, then choose to win and choose the way that you want to move forward with life. And I love looking forward as well. And when you say, instead of looking back, I think about how I've looked at a couple of pictures from when I was the healthiest I was as an adult. And I've even like said something like that. And I've had one of my kids hear me say that and they're like, no, no. And they like correct me. And I'm just like, thank you. And stop it. When they reverse it on you and you're like, oh yeah, I did teach you, that it's, this is good things to question, or these are questioning things, and then when they reverse it on me, I'm like, oh, all right, well, they're paying more attention to. So looking forward is one of those things that I can do easily, but I can also look back really easily and then beat myself up or feel less successful from where I am right now versus where I might have been before. And I think you're right about the it's really that lifelong learning that we were talking about, is that taking the lessons of where we are right now and knowing that the things that we've already worked through or we've already seen and learned, now what can we do from where we're at to move forward stronger in those learnings, in those lessons, and what we're choosing today with the future focus of how we are looking to leave our legacy. So I love that.
Yeah,
And
it's hard when it's hard to see that sometimes in the moment because you feel like things are not where you want to be because you're comparing yourself to the past. But part of that success model is um, giving ourselves grace and the self-awareness and all the things that were in the acronym to know that every day we are learning and growing. And so we are not the same person that we were then, and really shouldn't want to be, because we are smarter and we are, more capable today than we were yesterday. And, that's the whole point, is that we're on this journey. We just have to remember to give ourselves that grace that, what on the surface looks like it's not as successful as it was in the past, really is just simply preparing us for what the future holds, um, so that we, have the ability to realize more of that, of what we want to grow into, in the future.
yeah, because well, soulful success, right, is far from doing it all perfect. It's
Right,
about showing up authentically. It's about living in alignment with our values and creating meaningful progress in our journey day to day and
right.
living on purpose, choosing those things. So as we're wrapping up, like what one thing can you take today that aligns with you more about this soulful success framework that we just talked about? What's that one thing that you can take away today, in your reflection, right? Is it the self-awareness, ownership, unconditional love and compassion, lifelong learning, faith and flow, understanding others, or legacy? And think about what part of that framework really resonated with you today and why, right? And then how do you want to take action? What aspect of this framework do you find that you're called to really put some attention on? Don't go run and do all of them, but right, what's one thing that you can do from this conversation and from these awarenesses today that can help you reflect on where you want to tap in more soulfully for the way that you're living your life? And I want to thank Tara and Beth and Brenda for contributing to the conversation today. Thank you for joining me in this framework. And well, yeah, we're going to wrap it up here. So thank you for tuning into the Choose on Purpose podcast. And I'm your host, Becky Ploutz, and we will see you next week. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.